Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a look at someone you probably know as the Little Tramp.
Charlie Chaplin.
Exactly, but maybe not his financial side. We're using some really interesting sources you sent over.
Yeah, they paint quite a picture.
Our mission really is to unpack how Chaplin's life, particularly starting from extreme poverty, shaped a pretty unique and, frankly, brilliant way of handling money.
And pull out some lessons that still hold up today.
Right. So looking at the sources, that early life, it jumps right out, doesn't it? How did that, the workhouses, the deprivation, how did that set the stage?
Well, it's hard to overstate it. I mean, we're talking grim conditions, workhouses, periods where he was literally homeless on the streets of London.
Brutal.
Absolutely. And the sources suggest that fear, that deep-seated terror of going back to that, it never really went away, even when he was incredibly famous and wealthy.
So it wasn't just about making money. It was this fundamental need for security.
Precisely. It gave him a very real understanding of what money means, its actual value. And interestingly, despite becoming one of the highest paid people, maybe the highest paid entertainer for a while, he lived relatively modestly. He famously said something like, "I don't have much money, but I have enough to live on."
Even when he was a millionaire.
Right. Which tells you it wasn't just about being tight with money. It was about defining enough. And that freed up his thinking, his capital for other things, bigger things than just fancy houses or cars.
Okay, that makes sense. Contentment over consumption. So how did that philosophy play out when it came to, stuff versus experiences?
He seemed to genuinely believe happiness wasn't about piling up possessions. It was more about, meaningful connections, memorable experiences, learning.
He's investing in himself.
Exactly that. He was relentless about honing his craft, acting, writing, directing, composing even. That wasn't just artistic passion. You could see it as a core investment strategy. It directly fueled his success and, crucially, his independence.
So that early experience of lacking money didn't just make him save. It pushed him towards something much bigger: strategic control. How did the saving turn into, these revolutionary business moves?
Well, yeah, the frugality wasn't the end goal. It was the tool. It let him save up enough capital to do something pretty radical for the time.
Which was?
Starting his own film studio. Think about the control it gave him, creatively, financially.
And then came United Artists. Right. That seems pivotal.
Oh, absolute pivotal. Co-founding United Artists in 1919 with Pickford, Fairbanks, D.W. Griffith. I mean, that was a game changer.
Specifically?
Because it let the artists, the creators, basically cut out the middlemen, the big studios. They kept ownership of their films, they had full creative say, and importantly, they kept a much bigger slice of the profits.
That was revolutionary for Hollywood.
Completely shifted the power dynamic. And think about this foresight. He insisted on owning the negatives of his films. Which meant he kept earning royalties for decades, long after the films were made. That's long-term thinking, understanding assets and passive income way before it was, a common buzzword.
Okay, so we have frugality born of fear, leading to strategic investment for control and long-term asset ownership. But there's another layer, isn't there? Especially given where he started.
Yes, exactly. It wasn't just about him. The forces also point towards his philanthropy, his commitment to giving back.
Right. Despite knowing poverty firsthand, he was known for being quite generous. How did that show up?
Well, he used his platform, his fame, and, his money to talk about social issues. Poverty, injustice, the struggles of the common person themes you see woven right into his films like Modern Times or The Great Dictator.
So it wasn't just writing checks.
No, it was more holistic. Using his influence, his art, to shine a light on the things he'd experienced, it suggests a view where wealth isn't just personal security, but maybe a tool for societal good.
It all ties together then. From rags to riches, sure, but it sounds like his financial approach was deeply tied to discipline, incredible foresight, and maybe a different definition of what rich really means.
Yeah, a profound understanding of fulfillment beyond just the bank balance.
So summing it all up, Chaplin's journey offers this powerful model: discipline, strategic thinking, control, long-term value, and using wealth purposefully.
Which leads to maybe a final thought for you listening. If we connect all these dots, how does Chaplin's whole picture of wealth, building it carefully, investing strategically, and then using it with a conscience, how does that stack up against our modern ideas of financial success, especially considering he started with absolutely nothing?
That's definitely something to chew on. We hope you'll reflect on these principles from Chaplin's life. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.